The father and daughter were driving through a remote desert when they suddenly realized that there were a few strong men standing in front of them, sneaking around, not knowing what they were doing. When they pulled up, they realized they were slaughtering animals. The man, a zoologist, got out of his car and tried to stop them, but they didn't listen and shoved him in the face, telling him to mind his own business. Seeing that they had a gun and that his daughter was in the car, the man quickly got back into his car, thinking that it was better to do nothing, but the bad guys didn't want to let them go. Just as the man started his car to leave, one of the bad guys raised his gun against the advice of his companions, and the man was shot in the head, killing him instantly. On the other hand, the wife Sarah, who was waiting at home, saw that her husband and daughter had not returned, so she packed up her equipment and set off along the desert to look for them. So from night to day exhausted, she fell to the ground and fell asleep, but just then around the sound of animals panting. When she heard it, Sarah sat up and looked around, but there was nothing there. This strange scene made Sarah suddenly sleepy. She was puzzled to get up and look, but was surprised to find that there seems to be a bright headlight directly in front of the car. Sarah instantly thought of something, so she hurriedly packed her bags and ran towards the direction of the light. But what she didn't expect to see was her husband's car on its side, and a bad feeling came over her. Sarah did not have time to think about it. Without saying a word, opened the door and saw her husband's cold body. Sarah was devastated. She didn't know what had happened. Just when Sarah did not know what to do, but vaguely heard a movement in the trunk of the car came. Sarah was puzzled and slowly got up to check, but the scene in front of her stunned her to see her daughter's head was covered by a piece of black tarpaulin. Sarah's heart once again seized up. She unbelievably slowly lifted a look. Thankfully daughter only suffered a little trauma. People are still alive. Seeing this, Sarah immediately happy bad, so she hastily unscrewed the water bottle to let her daughter's weak body first replenish some water, and then from the trunk of the car to bring the tent cloth support between the two ditches, so snuggled up with each other to lie until the next morning. After such a night's rest, her daughter's health gradually improved, and Sarah's heart finally fell to the ground. However, just as she was thinking about what to do next, but vaguely heard not far away from the sound of a car engine is obviously someone is coming. Mother and daughter hiding in the bottom of the depression do not dare to make a sound, because at this moment there are two bad guys are looking for the girl's body, is ready to bury her and her father together, but was surprised to find that the girl in the car has disappeared. In order to avoid complications, the bad guys have no choice but to bury the body of the girl's father and then go looking for the girl together. But who knew that the car's phone actually rang at this time? Hatman picked up only to learn that the original black boss asked them to rush back as soon as possible, that there are urgent matters to be dealt with. Since the boss said that the two had to comply with, a fire detonated the car, and then accelerated quickly left the place. Sarah, mother and daughter were lucky to escape, but they were not in a hurry to leave, because Sarah also wanted to bury her husband's body in the place to put a stone to facilitate the future at any time to come back to see. When they were done, they walked slowly towards home, dragging their supplies with them. In order not to be detected, they walked and used branches to clean up the footprints on the ground, so that they walked from day to night, seeing that they were getting closer and closer to their home. But due to the fatigue of the day, they couldn't walk anymore. So they decided to stay here and rest for the night, and then continue their journey in the morning. But Sarah woke up to find that her daughter had disappeared from the bed next to her. Sarah suddenly panicked. She hurriedly sat up and shouted a few times, but did not get any response. Realizing that the situation is not good, Sarah then rushed to look around the neighborhood, and finally in the highest part of the desert to see her daughter is walking slowly towards a simple farmhouse. For safety reasons, Sarah didn't dare to rush forward, but hid in place and waited to see what would happen. Soon the daughter came to a bald man, unaware of the dangers of society. She hoped to be able to get his help, but did not know that the girl's stupid behavior also almost killed himself. After hearing the girl's description, the old man pretended to be kind and gave the girl a friendly hug and then told her to sit on the bench. He took out water and food and warmly entertained the girl and told her that he was not a bad person and that he would do his best to help her if she had any problems. After a long conversation, the old man told the girl to let down her guard, and asked her to go and get her mom to come and have some food. But just then a car suddenly drove towards them this way quickly, and the people on it were the two bad guys, which scared the girl, but it was too late. The two bad guys had already come towards the girl's side quickly and had recognized the girl by now. It was only then that she realized that they were a team. At this point the girl finally realized that they are a group of. Realizing that the situation is not good, the girl just wanted to run away, but the old man to pull back a hand. One of the bad guys pulled out a knife and wanted to kill the girl, but fortunately the black boss stepped in and stopped him, because he knew that the girl's mother was in the neighborhood. So he had to keep the girl as bait to lure her mother out and then kill her together. Said the black boss called another subordinate to take the girl to the tent to guard the guard, while the curly hair alone to go to the opposite side of the mountain forest to search for traces of the girl's mother. He followed the footprints all the way to the entrance of a cave and found a burning campfire not far away. Obviously there were people there. Seeing the situation, Curly immediately drew his gun and quietly went up. When Curly came forward to see, but found that there is no one here but a cloth wrapped in a humanoid lying on the ground, fired a few shots. Sword did not respond to Curly, immediately went forward to lift the cloth to see. However, just at this moment, along with another burst of gunfire, the black boss thought that Curly Hair had shot the girl's mother. In order to celebrate this beautiful moment, the black boss led the guards to go to admire his newly acquired weapons, while the girl's mother, Sarah, sneaked into the tent to untie her daughter's ropes. Then mother and daughter carefully and slowly walked forward. but the two villains inside the house did not notice. In order to escape from here as soon as possible, mother and daughter had to speed up the pace of a drum to the outside of the farmhouse quickly, but the daughter was about to succeed. But at this time accidentally kicked over a barrel of oil made a sound instantly attracted the attention of the thugs. Black Boss saw this, immediately led his men to go to see, while the frightened mother and daughter hurriedly hid behind a large iron barrel to wait and see what happens. The men came out to check and found that the girl had escaped. Then came to the tower to turn on the searchlight to look for the girl's traces. Fortunately, the mother and daughter in time to lie down on the ground so as not to be discovered. And so the mother and daughter continued on their journey, walking aimlessly through the desert from night to day. Tiredness and the lack of food for a long time made them feel like they were going to collapse, but for fear of the bad guys catching up with them, they didn't dare to stop. They could only continue to walk slowly in the scorching sun. I do not know how long the two finally found a small stream in front of them, dry mouth and tongue. So they recklessly and quickly ran forward to fill some water to drink to rehydrate their bodies, but did not realize that the water is not only very muddy, and there are also rotting animal carcasses in it. Helpless mother and daughter can only continue to embark on the road to escape. But the misfortune is not unique, who knew that not long after the two came out of the sandstorm again.